Clouds covered the sky and it suddenly grew cool. It was going to rain a bit. According to Okonogi's intuition, Yuri knew that their enemy had broken through the blockade, but he hadn't told Takano about it. By then, it really didn't make any difference if she knew or not, and he also wanted to reach the top of the mountain. Disobeying orders, Okonogi. She didn't specifically give him an order to, tell her all the information. Maybe, I don't know. I guess he's just like, I don't care what she has to say because she's just going to scream at me and be like, what are you doing, you absolute incompetent fools? I'm like, shut the fuck up. Okonogi was only thinking about one thing. He was thinking about the enemy's commander who made the day so horrible for him. He just couldn't accept his defeat until he saw the enemy commander face to face. Battle was already lost. They just had a princess who didn't think they had yet. With the rest of the mountain dogs fallen to the traps and ambushes, Okonogi had ordered all units except his own to fall back from the front line and into the vehicles. The only ones left to go on were the very determined princess, Okonogi himself, and a handful of exhausted members of the mountain dogs who could barely walk. And considering how exhausted they are, when the bloodhounds show up, they're going to be like, okay, we're in no condition to do any fighting here. Eventually the slope became a little more gentle. Okonogi and his companions finally arrived at the storage shack of the Forest Service. Club members were already aware that the mountain dogs had been almost totally annihilated. Both the numbers and strength of the dogs had fallen far below that of the club members. Therefore, when Okonogi saw his opponents lined up there to welcome them, he wasn't surprised. It was all the kids who had driven the mountain dogs to destruction that entire day. They had also fought with everything they had. Though they overwhelmed us from start to finish, they had used up all their stamina and were on their last legs as well. Still, their willpower kept them standing. A will born of the victor's honor, which God granted only to the winners. There she is! It's her! Okonogi, capture her! Major, how could you even say that to us under these circumstances? What? Are you disobeying my order? Oh, no. I have no intention of doing that. Okonogi removed his communication unit, his taser, and all the heavy equipment he had been carrying. So he's pretty much doing the same thing he did last time then. He's just like, I don't need this shit. It's go time. Then he unbuttoned his shirt and told his men to stay put as he stepped forward. You'd think he'd learn from the last time not to, get cocky like that. He strode forward about half of the distance toward the club members. I'm Okonogi, also known as Phoenix One of the Mountain Dogs. I'm here to pay my respects to your leader. Wait, so if he's Phoenix One, all that time where I was just voice acting them all, I mean, they just kind of every name, just generic voice. If only I'd realized that Phoenix One was actually him, then, whenever that name would come up, then I'd be like, okay, voice it as Okonogi, because that's who it is. May I have their name? The club members looked at each other. One of them was a girl taller than the others. She couldn't be that old, but her hawk-like eyes were as sharp as a veteran soldier's. Okonogi didn't know her circumstances, but only those whose lives were threatened on a daily basis had eyes like that. I'm the leader of this club. My name is Mion Sonozaki. The girl stepped forward. How old are you? No, your age doesn't matter. From the turmoil at the police station this morning to this battle on the mountains, were you responsible for it all? The girl didn't answer, but her silence confirmed it more strongly than anything she could have said. You've won this battle. Our princess is the only one who can understand that. There's nothing else we can do at this point. Tomitake broke through the blockade. I'm sure he's already called Tokyo. I don't know when the suppression unit will arrive. It's just a matter of time, I'm sure. If you wanted to laugh, go right ahead. Okonogi, what are you doing? That's the enemy commander. Take her down. Don't pay any attention to her. It's just I gave up on her commands freaking hours ago. What do you want? You are a leader, and so am I. You understand, don't you? is he surrendering? I can understand. He was in charge of the whole army, and all his men are down, so he can't just nod his head and accept defeat. So the defeated general can only reward himself by sacrificing himself, huh? Fine. Do what you need to satisfy yourself. I appreciate it. Mion took a stance. Okonogi took a stance too. Although Okonogi was nothing like Akasaka, he was still a close combat specialist. Even when exhausted, there was no way Mion could defeat him. Yeah, now he's like... Akasaka, you could tell, he's a badass, and he underestimated him. But with Mion, it's like... Yeah, she's a badass, but it's just like... She can't be as tough as that. I mean, she's just a teenage girl. What's she got? Takano thought so too. She thought Mion was underestimating Okonogi. But Mion is like the heir to the Sonozaki family. She's had a lot of training in a variety of different things. But Mion knew. She knew that she was the only one who could put him at ease. Ready, take this! Okonogi ready. It launched sharp from his waist, but Mion deflected it to the side with her elbow, wrapped her arm around underneath it, wrenching it back behind him, and forced it up into a hold. And then she twisted his arm even further. Okonogi was certain that she was going to snap a bone. It was an excellent technique. She took his arm in one flowing motion. It was clear that Mion's self-defense techniques weren't spur of the moment. However, she didn't break Okonogi's arm, but instead threw him onto the ground. She didn't deliver the final blow, but rather chose to look down on him. That's gotta piss him off, then. Not bad. Okonogi, what are you doing? Hurry up and subdue her. Shut up. You just shut up and watch. This is a battle between leaders of men. Okonogi got up quickly, took a stance once again, and then swung his arm down. But Mion avoided it effortlessly, and just like she did before, she grabbed his arm and turned it around. They were in the same position as before. And just like what happened then, she didn't break his arm, but threw him onto the ground and looked down on him. Rotation thrower. The way you move. It's not Yoshinkan technique, is it? Is it that classic Kobo-tan one? And now the drink comes into play, because man, that hurt my throat. Much better. By the way, when you take your opponent's arm, you can knee him in the face if you want. I see. I'll try that next time. It's just like, why does it cut to a blank screen? It's like, who is it? Oh wow, Mion is incredible. She's actually standing toe-to-toe with the commander. Okonogi, use your weapons. What do you think you're doing? Here I come. He had a stronger drive this time. He tried to kick right through her from a step and a half away. This time, Mion stepped in to launch her own attack, jumping right towards the foot, trying hard to kick her. Mion kept herself low as she entered close range with Okonogi, shutting out his leg trying to kick her. So of course he went after her head. Okonogi raised his right arm to elbow her in the skull, but this time Mion rose up, using both hands to keep his arm from swinging down. Unlike the flowing motions from earlier, this was simply a contest of strength. His physique was overwhelmingly superior to hers, so she couldn't win that test of strength. Suddenly Mion let go and allowed Okonogi's elbow to come down. Then she stepped to the side. It's another repeat of before. Okonogi's arm was held to his back and he ended up in the same position. But what came after was different. Okonogi's face lowered as Mion lifted his arm up high, and then she swiftly brought her knee into his face. It's exactly the technique that Okonogi told her about just earlier. And once again he was down on the ground. That's it. You learn quickly, don't you? You know, strategies, tactics, and combat. You already have everything you need to be an effective commander. You should have been in my position. You should have been the one to lead those shitty mountain dogs. Huh. Sorry, I never want to be a leader of a shitty unit like yours. Mion scoffed. Okonogi took it with a smile too. He wasn't trying to be humble, it was just his pure reaction. You're right. You shouldn't waste your talent on Japanese unconventional warfare units. I bet you could lead in the SAS Delta. Sweatlands, whichever you join, you'd be one of their best. In any case. SAS? Delta Force? Lame? All that's just way too boring. Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. Then tell me, what kind of folks do you want to be CO for? I'm not interested in being in charge of any units at all. Being a leader's fine. A leader? Leader of British Intelligence Service, That's fitting. Oh, no way. Listen, there's only one club I want to go. That's the club in our Hinamizawa branch school. I'm not interested in games about penalties. Addition of words cage my bar. Seeker of all things adorable and cute Renryu. Trapmaster Satoko and the charming enticing Riki-chan. Last but not least, our newcomer Hanyu Furude. I'll never find anything more fun than playing with them, even if I search this entire world. No wonder we couldn't win. If I was their leader, there was no one way we could have won. Okonogi, get a hold of yourself. Takano yelled at him, but Okonogi didn't hear it. Are we finished with the warm-up? This next one's for real. You're going to die. Be ready for that. Come on, I'll give you a fitting end. Something you've been wanting all this time. Good enough. Here I come! Okonogi took about 5 steps backwards and breathed deep. His body twisted as he gathered all his spirit into his right fist. Just as he said, the next attack would be for real. He was putting everything he had into this one final blow. Mion narrowed her eyes, preparing to parry the blow with her side. The sky began to stir. They both felt raindrops on their foreheads. Here I go. I'm gonna kill you. So come get me, okay? Is he actually saying he's gonna kill her? I mean, probably. But he said he's gonna kill her, but I don't... Well, you know, death and kill are kind of different words. So I guess it wouldn't have the conjugator. I guess that's the conjugator being used here, maybe? Whenever you're done praying, go right ahead. That one tense moment was suddenly brought to an end. He dashed forward from a low position, just like a runner from a starting line. Then he added the twist from his body into the blow as his right arm roared with all his power. A bolt of lightning punctuated that moment in time, burning the moment into our eyes. In that moment, Mion's stance hadn't changed at all. No, maybe she moved like lightning in the moment it struck. Better recall, the moment burned into our eyes to review the scene. Okonogi had swung with his right fist, which had enough power to shatter Mion's bones. So what if 100% of his power was directed back at him in a counterattack? When the lightning struck, Okonogi's body had been flying through the air. It was a legendary technique in Japanese martial arts, passed down in Judo and Aikido, the air throw. It looks as if one is being thrown without his opponent even touching him, a miraculous technique that occurs at lightning speed. Of all the techniques Mion possessed, it was the most sublime advanced technique she could administer on the defeated General Okonogi. Is that like an actual real technique? Or is it one of those ones where it's like, well, it's not actually real, it's just kind of a showy kind of thing that, I don't know. Feeling of freedom while flying in the air is more memorable than the impact of hitting the ground, supposedly. When Okonogi hit the ground behind Mion, a heavy rain suddenly began to fall. How fitting. And just as it did, a massive helicopter appeared from the other side of the mountain. The helicopter's rotors stirred up the air and blew away the raindrops like in a tornado. The rotor sounded much like a tornado too. You know, is that an actual image of a helicopter? Because, like, they're all, like, real images, but kind of have this kind of posterized effect or something over it to kind of make it look kind of blurry, I guess. So I wonder where this was taken. Or maybe they improvised, like, no, that's not actually a helicopter, or maybe it's a toy helicopter, I don't know. Just like, hey, we don't have the budget to be like, hey, can you fly, like, a military kind of helicopter or something, you know, so I can get a good, you know, picture for my visual novel, sound novel. It's like, no. A rope uncoiled from the rear of the helicopter and saw this game sliding down into one after another. The onlookers were stunned for a moment before realizing what they were seeing. It was the Bloodhounds. The Bloodhounds that Tomitake had called in. Having realized how bad the situation had become, Okonogi returned to the other members of the Mountain Dogs. Nothing was going their way anymore. The Mountain Dogs ran down the slope and disappeared into the woods. They dragged Takano with them, who couldn't understand what was going on. I mean, wouldn't it be very much futile at that point to try to run away? Just surrender, man. You got no chance. The voice echoed from a speaker attached to an old helicopter circling around the mountain. To all staff of the Yuri Institute, today at 12:30 p.m., the Institute's independent authority was frozen and is now under the control of the Bloodhounds. As of the same moment, HQ has ordered complete disarmament of all Yuri Institute staff. All Mountain Dogs will disarm themselves immediately and gather at the parking lot of the Yuri Clinic, or at the storage shack at the top of the mountain. Failure to respond accordingly will result in discipline under not only civilian law, but under self-defense force rules as well. But our members continued to slide down the rope from the helicopter. Even at a glance, they were very different from the Mountain Dogs. They were armed more heavily, and the guns they had were much larger. Such things clearly differentiated the two units. Does this mean that we have won? I don't know. I've never seen this before, so I don't know if we really did. Stoker and Rika sat down and hugged each other. They were both soaked in rain, but they still sat down in the mud. Mion stood solemnly in the rain as the leader of the winning team. The Mountain Dogs had abandoned the field. They all ran away with their tails between their legs. Keiichi and Rena ran over to Mion. Mion. Mi-chan. It's over. Yeah, club activity is over. Rika-chan's safe. Everyone else is safe. Mi-chan, it's our victory. You led us this far, Mion. It's all thanks to you. But Mion didn't seem to be listening to Keiichi and Rena. Instead, she mumbled to herself. I like punishments. Eh? Club activities can be cruel, huh? Fight to decide who's the loser, so that means everyone looks down on whoever does lose, right? I can't even tell who's talking now. You don't look down on anyone, you just do the punishment and that's it. Yeah, we do the punishment and that's it. We all enjoy laughing at the loser and then forget about it. That's why I like what we do. We all laugh, including the one who came in last. Nobody gets hurt, we all laugh and then we're done with it. That Okonogi guy. Thought he couldn't purify his sins. He was defeated by me. I mean, sure, it's pretty serious. Got pretty serious. We're almost killed too, but it's all over, right? The game is over. Even though it is, there's no punishment for the Mountain Dogs. Mion might have realized something when she threw Okonogi. Keiichi didn't think anybody else could understand that. I don't know what you're trying to say, Mion. Forget about it. It's all over for them anyway. Yeah, you're right. Everything's all over. We're all alive. Nobody got seriously hurt. So, let's enjoy our happy ending. That's right. Nobody got hurt. It really is a happy ending. It's just like, the fact that they're saying all this is like, well, it isn't over just yet, is it? While they hadn't yet confirmed Shion and Kasai's safety, they were correct. You know, yeah, that's a fair point as well. They sniped at the Mountain Dogs that were at the roadblock, but I guess they probably retreated as well at this point. This was the happy ending that they all had been fighting for. You know, with the rain and lack of, music, the solemn atmosphere. It's like, we've won. We finally won. What now, then? What do we do with our lives now that we finally won? However, Mion was still thinking. She only understood the reason for that in the moment the thunder struck. As soon as the flash of the lightning disappeared, her understanding vanished as well. All she could remember was that she noticed something very important, and that shortly after, she completely forgot about it. She could only feel a great sense of loss. What could it have been? The Bloodhounds soon surrounded the club members. At first, they thought the club members were their enemies, but when Tomitake appeared, he explained the whole situation. The commander of the Bloodhounds appeared to beg the club members not to say a word about anything, as it was a politically sensitive incident. It was amusing to see a man like that beg while carrying all those weapons. Of course, they had no intention of talking to anyone about it. Once it had ended, it all felt like a bad dream. If on the following day someone asked them what they had been doing, they might not even remember it. This day was that unrealistic for them. I mean, if they asked, just like, oh, we were just doing club activities, you know? I mean, you could see it that way. So even if they were asked, they wouldn't say a word. Rick-chan, I'm glad you're safe.
Akasaka, I'm glad you're safe too. Meep.
It's all worked out great too. Are you alright? The clinic has been occupied by the watchdogs. Mound dogs are all surrendering too. Dr. Erie and a boy he was hiding with being put under the Bloodhound protection as well. Oh, I see. I was wondering that. It's like he knows it was Satoshi, but maybe he knows enough to be like, shouldn't mention his name though to Satoko, you know? That'd be a bad idea.
Coach is safe too, is he? Very glad about that. Wait, a boy? I don't want to know who that could be. That's Tomitake-san or Okamura-san were injured.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Satoko, I'm very happy for you.
Rika's smile made it clear on what she had gone through. Someone could only smile like that after a long and exhausting struggle. Satoko had no idea what that smile meant. How much time would be needed to make her understand? Well, you'd have to go through the whole Higurashi series again and do that about 100 times, because, well, not 100 times. How many? It's like 4 question marks, 4 answers, so that's 8. So, you know, go through like all that around until you get to at least 100, and then maybe. But that wouldn't really work that way. But she's gone through at least 100 or more life cycles of this, you know, repeating of events, and they'll occasionally change, be a bit different, but it ultimately ends with her just dying, and kind of sucks. But now they've overcome it. Still, Yuri will do something about it. For certain, he will bring Satoko's Nini back home.
That's right, Satoko, you haven't taken your shot today, have you? You can't forget about that.
I kind of give it a bit of the Reno face there. What was that?
Ah, quite true. How troublesome that I can't forget about the shot, even in his situation.
Satoko seemed to have no idea that her medication was connected to the syndrome. Didn't she already explain that to her a while back? Perhaps she was already aware, but pretended not to be. Rika vowed to herself that no matter how long it took, she was going to witness with her own eyes the moment her best friend finally parted with her tragic past.
Please don't you need to take this shot twice a day. It was 3 times for the previous one.
Satoko also had no idea that Satoshi was involved in the development of her medication. Yuri had said that Satoko, as a specimen, had contributed much to Satoko's treatment. Even while asleep, Satoshi longed to ease the burden on Satoko, and those feelings must have influenced Sadoko's medicine somehow. Satoko had to inject herself in the stomach. For privacy, she ran into the grove of trees to give herself a shot. There was no danger in her doing so. One after another, the bloodhounds dropped down from helicopters. Each helicopter must have carried at least 20 to 30 soldiers. There was one helicopter at the top of the mountain and 2 more halfway down the slope. Troops were pouring down from all over. All of them, leading to the impression that the entire mountain was under the Bloodhound's control. If they're trying to keep all this secretive, isn't it a bit overkill for them to fly all these helicopters in? Sure, if the villagers be like, hey, what's going on the mountains? I mean, even if there is a festival going on, they're bound to notice. Nobody fired their weapons even once. Man dogs had no choice but to surrender. It wasn't raining hard at all. The sky should clear up after 20 or 30 minutes. It was volatile weather typical of early summer. Sadako soon returned, and spoke to her best friend.
Rika, I haven't seen Hanyu-san around. She was here a moment ago.
Huh? Hanyu? Hanyu, where are you? It was stupid of me to think that Tokyo had sent more support. They're acting as if they've known of their loss for a while now. I was the only one who didn't know. So you'll be talking now. What's going on? Tell me this minute, Okonogi.
This is it. They're the Bloodhounds. Tomitake called them in.
Bloodhounds? I've heard the name before. But aren't they similar to the Mountain Dogs? Aren't you fighting back?
You've got to be kidding me. We Mountain Dogs are simply a counterintelligence unit. On the other hand, the Bloodhounds are a real combat mentality. There's no way we can defeat them.
The reigning free members looked at me in exhaustion, and their numbers have been drastically reduced. Why are they here in the first place? We captured Tomitake. Are there more spies? Who are they?
Major, the clinic was attacked earlier. Haven't you heard that First Lieutenant Tomitake escaped? Oh wait, that wasn't Okonogi then.
One of the three spoke up timidly, but Okonogi signaled him to shut up. He's like, no, you'll get me in trouble for not reporting that. Nobody told me this. When did that happen? What's going on, Okonogi? Wasn't there a blockade exactly so that they couldn't escape the village? They weren't even responding to me anymore. I'd been left behind. I'm the only one who didn't know. I'm being left out. The members looked at Okonogi, waiting for his command. Nobody is waiting for my order. Nobody even cares about my orders.
Commander, there's a radio call from the command vehicle.
One of the members handed the intercom to Okonogi.
This is Phoenix 1.
Commander, final orders from Cuckoo. Execute Cuckoo! What is Cuckoo? How is it looking Japanese? Is that it? Is it Kaku? Kaku? Then why is it Cuckoo there? But Kaku, I think that was Kaku in Japanese.
Cuckoo, roger that. Bloodhounds have us surrounded. We're being advised to surrender. What should we do? Command vehicle, no. Oda and Adachi, good work. You're cleared to surrender. Disarm yourselves and follow the orders of the Bloodhounds. Roger that, Commander. All units, listen up. Command vehicle is being compromised. Clinic's probably in the enemy's hands as well. Lost all our backup as well as equipment. All teams have been wiped out. Sure, everyone has disarmed themselves. Mountain Dogs have been completely defeated.
Not yet. Get in touch with Nomura-san in Tokyo. The Bloodhounds, so what? She'll send in units who can beat them immediately. You're delusional, Takano. R is still alive. We can activate the final operation. I must let Nomura-san know that. We have to restore communications with Tokyo. We really shouldn't have cut the telephone connections. But we did, so we'll have to recover the command vehicle. We'll get in touch with Tokyo on the radio. Which the men in the command vehicle surrendered without resistance. So I'm sure the Bloodhounds got us down. Ona, you and the other three will be enough. It's still the 19th of June. The operation starts on the 21st. Or is it supposed to be the 22nd? You still have time. We'll manage. Okonogi, go recover the command vehicle immediately. Why can't you follow my orders? I'm a major. I'm your superior. Why are you listening to Okonogi but not me?
Major, didn't you hear what the helicopter said earlier? We've lost. There's absolutely nothing we can do anymore.
What are you saying, Okonogi? Are you already giving up? You saw that R is alive, didn't you? What happened today was all because of the rumor that R was dead. But she's alive. That means today didn't happen. We can still use the emergency manual. As long as the Queen Carrier's alive, all we have to do is kill her. Then we'll have 48 hours to execute the command.
Major, it's far beyond that point already. Tokyo doesn't care about the Queen Carrier or the 48 hours after death. Final operation is a complete failure. Our clients must be running around desperately trying to destroy evidence. Our job here is done. I commanded the Mountain Dogs for about 10 years. It was a valuable experience, but it's all over today. And Major, your job is over too.
What? What do you mean my job is over? What are you talking about?
Major, your job was to rear the scrapbook in your hands.
What are you talking about?
Didn't expect Okonogi to start talking about my grandfather's scrapbook. I don't doubt that there is a disease called Hinamizawa syndrome. The whole village going into a panic 48 hours after Queen dies. No one's ever seen that happen. No one knows if that's true or not.
Exactly. Finally, someone talking points here. It would all be a lie. You wouldn't prove anything about that in, executing the manual to do that, because we wouldn't allow it to play out to see if it's actually true or not. Don't be ridiculous. Look here. It's somewhere in here. But where? I know it's in here. The studies of all the simple parasites and brain statistics say... Damn it, where is it?
I flipped through the pages of the scrapbook in a panic.
It's weird. We're seeing this from her perspective, but unlike how it usually is when it's from a character's perspective, the character is actually seen on screen. Usually it isn't the case when it's like from her perspective. Can't even remember which page I'm looking for. Okonogi slapped the scrapbook aside and it thudded. No, it landed in a muddy puddle, so it splashed onto the ground. The open pages of the scrapbook were face down in the muddy water and already turning colour as they soaked up the mud. What are you doing? This is the most important. As I crouched down to pick up the scrapbook, Okonogi stepped on it. Well, it's like history repeats itself there, doesn't it? A splash of muddy water hit me in the face. I had to witness my precious scrapbook being stepped on and covered in filth.
Major, I don't really care if what's in this scrapbook is true or false. As a matter of fact, nobody does.
What do you mean by that?
I tried to get the scrapbook from under Okonogi's foot, but I couldn't pull it out. Clients in Tokyo merely wanted to see how many people would actually believe what's in the scrapbook. They didn't even care if it was the truth or lies, as long as it was believable.
They didn't care.
No, they didn't. They just wanted some famous doctors to research the subject and come up with a report full of difficult terminology so they could deceive people. That was your job.
No, this isn't a lie. My grandfather and I researched it for so many years. Come on, move your foot.
The scrapbook is getting soaked through. I'm trying my best so that it's not ruined, but it's no use. Queen dies and the village must be killed. All you had to do was convince the higher up to that crazy story. Nobody cared about parasites to begin with. They only cared if it could be used for political gain. You knew that, didn't you? And at this point, nobody will ever pay attention to any of that nonsense again. A lot of people bet on this scrapbook, and they lost. The Mountain Dogs lost too. That's all there is to it.
This isn't nonsense. The scrapbook holds the truth. Everything in it is the truth. My grandfather researched it. I researched it, and this is the result. Everyone believed in it. That's why they built such a beautiful research center, isn't it? They believed in it, and that was why Nomura-san got in touch with me. There must be other people who believe in my work, because all this is a picture of humankind.
Okonogi got fed up and kicked me. I don't weigh much, so I fell backwards and became soaked in the muddy water. Okonogi walked over and looked down at me. Fortunately, there's still some of the clients in Tokyo expected from you. Hey, one of the Mountain Dogs handled the guns, Okonogi. Okonogi checked the cylinder and then threw it over to me.
What is this?
Major, why don't you use that to shoot yourself in the head?
What?
I looked at the gun. I'm used to seeing guns working at the Hinamizawa Institute as I do. I was never frightened by guns before. But for the first time, I feel scared just looking at one. You know, this happens all the time. Major, please take responsibility as the leader of the defeated force and shoot yourself.
What are you saying?
Nobody has ever told me to die before. Means she was willing to die. If it meant her grandfather's research would be recognized, but obviously that's gone down the drain now.
And it was never really the intention of it either. Nobody's ever told me to kill myself. Well, it's the 80s, so the internet wasn't quite around there, but you know, if the internet was around there, she probably would have encountered various trolls, especially if she's like going on about her grandfather's research and that.
If you die, the clients can just blame you for everything. Actually, Tokyo's already preparing to do that.
Don't be ridiculous. Why should I? Why should I have to do that? I'm starting to sob. My body is shaking all over.
Well, you don't have to do it yourself if you don't want to. Maybe that's too much to ask of you right now.
Okonogi pulled his gun out and pointed at me. The other members, having realized everything will work out if I die, just looked at me coldly.
You're gonna say that I tried to talk you into surrendering, but you refused. We shot at each other and had to kill you. That's the scenario. I gave you the gun so that you could kill yourself rather than be killed by me. So show my appreciation for the time we've known each other.
I don't want it to end like that. No. Who came up with this plan in the first place? I don't want this.
It was your dearest friend, Nomura-san from Tokyo. They had a plan for damage control in case the final operation failed. Nomura-san's code name is Cuckoo.
Okay, that makes sense now.
And yours is Baby Bird, isn't it? Do you know where cuckoos lay their eggs?
What?
Cuckoos lay their eggs at all the birds' nests. Once they hatch, they kill the young of the original owner by pushing them out of the nests and then take it over. The baby birds on the ground are left helpless. They usually end up eaten by mountain dogs.
Oh. It's all coming together with the naming of stuff. I used the money I got from Uncle Koizumi to pay the mountain dogs, thinking I'd gained a reliable ally. I always thought that, although Okonogi was barbaric, he was very reliable. But my nest had been taken over.
Major, you never had any allies to begin with. All you had to do was exactly what the clients in Tokyo wanted you to. But now it's over. Now you need to exit the stage. Take it. It's your precious scrapbook. Hold that in your left hand and pick up the gun with your right.
Scrapbook was finally returned to me, covered in mud. I held it with both hands and cried. What a joke the entire life of Mion Takano was. Right now is when I should just go back inside that chain link fence. It's weird because you kind of feel bad for her, but you know, she is completely insane with her plan to kill Rika and everyone in the village. And she has successfully done that in all the other worlds, so... But yeah, my shaking hands held the ice-cold gun.
There's only one bullet in there. Sometimes a bullet can ricochet on the scalp, so that's why people usually get the muzzle in their mouths. Come on, hold a gun, point it like this, and die.
In the hills of the mountain, a single gunshot echoed. With that gunshot, members of the Bloodhounds rushed in. Okonogi and the other men raised their hands in surrender.
Major Takano was with us, but she refused to surrender. She tried shooting at us, so I had to fire a shot to intimidate her. We were 7 the leader. They arrested First Lieutenant Okonogi and 3 other members of the Mountain Dogs. Major Takano is on the run. Her footprints are heading southeast. Oh, west. Sorry, ignore that first order. But the brush is too thick and we can't go any further. Question back. Major Takano is armed. I repeat, Major Takano is armed.
They said you only had 1 bullet. Or was it Okonogi that shot, like, the warning fire? Maybe he just let her just like, it's up to you. You do what you want, Takano. You can run, or you can shoot yourself. Do whatever the fuck you want. We're screwed. So I'm just going to, you know, make up this story so that I don't get in the same kind of trouble as you.
Retriever leader to all units. Major Takano is on the run. She's armed, so be cautious. Patrol the area and force her out.
I'm running through the mountain covered in dirt and still holding the muddy scrapbook. I keep falling because of the bud, and branches and tree roots continue to torment me. I lost one of my shoes, so I decided to get rid of the other shoe too. This isn't the first time I've had to run like this. Oh yeah, it all comes full circle for you, I guess. This isn't the first time I've ran barefoot. This isn't the first time I felt such pain on the soles of my feet. This isn't the first time I've cried like this.
I repeat, Major Takano, disarm yourself and surrender. You can't escape. Marin dogs have surrendered. You have no more allies.
Helicopter above my head is pulling out my knee. I crawled into a hollow tree. I held my knees and hid. The last time I ran barefoot like this was a very long time ago. My feet are bloody and swollen, and I can no longer walk. I can only cry as I bite the corner of my scrapbook. Sadness and humiliation fight for dominance in my heart. When I feel sad, I cry. When I feel humiliated, I scratch myself to calm my anger. And I still have the gun in my right hand, the one with a single bullet in it. So I guess it was Okonogi that let off the shot. I have to kill myself. My death is the only thing that can bring it all to an end. Kill myself is the only way to go back to that day. But when I look at the scrapbook in my left hand, I'm assaulted by sadness and fear. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
Just die. Atone for your action with your death. I recall the look in Okonogi's eyes. I know I have committed sins. There are so many sins, too many of them. There are more sins than I can possibly atone for, but do I have to die for them? I don't want to die. I cried again and then noticed someone standing nearby. There she is, it's the girl. The girl whom I met when I came to Hinamizawa when the Aryan Soup was first opened. I met this girl at the shrine when I declared war on God. This girl is the god of this place. That girl looked at me and sneered rather than sympathizing. Are you still trying to take God's place? You still deny that you're human? Long time no see. I lost this game. It's what I get for challenging God, I guess. Human child, are you still after the position of a god? Are you still willing to endure for the sake of opposing the divine? No way, taking a god's place really is impossible. Human child, listen well. I will show you the way to godhood. Then, with the gun in your right hand, end your life. The position of a god requires no flesh. Don't expect people to recognize your existence. Being a god is lonesome. You, foolish child, wanted to become one. Is that still what you desire? Freaking savage, aren't you? It's like, right, take that gun you got there and shoot yourself. Are you telling me to shoot myself with this? That's it. Something that simple would make me a god. That's so simple. And what is this? What have I been doing all this time? You shouldered the sins of many others. You purified all their sins by sacrificing yourself. Your courage will be praised and you'll be allowed to take a seat among the gods. What's that? You're telling me to be their scapegoat? Take responsibility for all of them and die? Fuck you! I refuse. Absolutely refuse. I don't think she said fuck you, because that's not in the Japanese vocabulary. I mean, it kinda is, but it's a non-Japanese word. So, you know. For a second I thought it was. That's Fu. I was like, fuck you. But it's, Fuzakinai something, I don't know what that actually means. But for a second then I was like actually thinking maybe she did say fuck you. But if it's actually were to say fuck you, it'd be in katakana. This is in hiragana. And it doesn't have, you know, the right characters for it. Fuzakinai, I don't know what that means. But it certainly doesn't mean fuck you, I imagine. Maybe it's like the equivalent of saying fuck you, but not quite like that. Maybe it's the I refuse.
Why don't you want that? To attain peace in the human world, there must always be one sacrifice for one sin. Oh yeah, it kind of comes full circle for her as well, you know, because she was like, that's how she came, end up in her predicament. Well, she's like an actual god this whole time, like some kind of demon thing, entity. That was kind of what became Hanyu many centuries past, and how she's like basically this god that's only able to communicate with Rika and people suffering with Hinamizawa syndrome on the higher levels. But, you know, now she can, you know, manifest in the human world, so everyone can see her now. Isn't that the truth of the human world? Isn't that the method for purifying sin? Didn't you want to sacrifice one girl for the future you desired? What are you talking about? I don't understand anything you're saying. You don't, because you're a human. You don't even know how stupid you were to even want to become a god. I don't want to die for other people to become a god. No way. I don't want to become a god at all. I'm fine with being human. I just wanted someone to forgive me for being that way. That's all. But, why is this happening? And how will you purify this stain? How will you pay the price? Why? Why does someone have to take the blame? They're all pushing responsibility onto other people. They maneuver this way and that, just so they don't have to dirty their own hands. That's just what happens in the human world. No, that's not. When my parents and my grandpa were alive, things like that didn't happen. We're all happy. Nobody blamed anyone else. How did I fall out of that world? Why am I wandering around in the mountains alone in the rain? To be fair, Takano, you chose this path. You could have had a normal life, but you just were so obsessed with making your grandfather's research, you know, a thing that you lost sight of it and end up going down a slippery slope, and now you're here. Why? Why me? This is the punishment for my sins, isn't it? I knew it. I didn't notice it. I made a huge mistake, but I didn't want to admit it. And when it was too late, I regretted it for the first time. So this is the punishment for my sins. Oh? The human world will want you to purify your sins. They'll be purified when you sacrifice yourself. That's the way of the human world. However, I'm not a human. I am a being above man, a being which fills in the missing gaps in harmony, a being that forgives human sins. Man cannot forgive the sin of man. I am the one who forgives the sins of man. I forgive you. Demanding a sacrifice be paid for sins isn't the way of the human world. It's the way of demons. So this is not the world of man. This is a world of demons created by man and the demons infesting them. Humans cannot end that way of their world. So I became a god to grant that end. It was over 1,000 years of pain. I wanted to come down from this place. I desired a world where God doesn't need to make peace. And finally, after 1,000 years' time, I have found that fragment. Human child, I will forgive your sins in my name. Kneel and repent. Ask for forgiveness. Then you shall receive it. God will forgive you. God will forgive your human sins. The God in human form walked up to me and reached out. As I knelt and looked down, she touched my head. Now she recognizes Hanyu from that time when she first arrived in Hinamizawa. How come she didn't recognize Hanyu when, like, they met later on?